So Hunter writes, first of all, Sneako had put a tweet out with a photo. You can see in that photo that it's a whole bunch of little kids. I don't know how old they are. Looks like 4, 5 to me, holding up pride flags. And Sneako wrote, wokeness is the real pandemic. Hunter tweeted above it, because he trolls Sneako, we can acknowledge that happens, it says nothing more terrifying than kids learning gay people exist. Explain. And then I'll tell you why I don't think that's what's happening here, but go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like there's this consistent uproar, especially among the more right-leaning conservative side of things. So I'm not saying this is necessarily you, but I've definitely noticed there seems to be this weird uproar of people getting mad anytime kids are introduced to the fact of reality that gay people exist. Mm-hmm. It's very strange. A little while back, I mean, the Matt Walsh, Brandon Tatum, a couple conservative big names were just freaking out that Peppa Pig had like a 6-second scene where she had 2 moms and nothing about it was inappropriate. She was like, my mom is a doctor and my other mom makes me spaghetti, or it was like something so innocent. Mm-hmm. And again, it's like people act like this is indoctrinating children or something, which is it indoctrinating kids to take them to a wedding? A heterosexual wedding? Is it indoctrinating kids when they turn on the TV and their little cartoon shows Superman kissing the girl or whatever? Like, I just feel like it's very double standard.
So let me comment on that. I can't speak to Peppa Pig because I haven't seen the piece that they're commenting on. I got to get with it. I don't watch a lot of cartoons, Matrix programming. You know how it is. Anyway, so I don't watch that, but I would want to see it before I commented on it. But I can speak to this. So when I saw this, the reason I pulled this is because, and can you flash that on the screen again one more time so the audience can see it? Okay. The reason that I pulled this is because I am somebody who believes, listen, you're a grown adult, you're not hurting anybody else, live the life you want to live. I don't care. I really don't. I have friends that have all different ways of life, all different lifestyles, and as long as they're not harming somebody else, fine. One, the reason that this is a problem for me is because we've now gone from a society of acceptance of what I just said, of like just, hey, live your own life, do whatever you want, to a society where we need other people to put a stamp of approval on our behavior. And if they don't, there's something wrong with them. So there's a difference between kids knowing that gay people exist, and maybe you have a gay couple who's like you're friends with, and they come over to the house and you explain to your kids in your own terms, your own language, like, hey, they're, they have a little bit of a different relationship. However you want to have that conversation, fine. And I do think kids should be informed of realities of the world, because this is the world we live in. We don't want them to be like thinking there's something wrong or something like that. There's a difference between that and handing out, hey, everybody color your pride flag, hold it up, put your in class, wave around, show that you endorse it, show that you support it. Hey, this is a cool, woke classroom. Look, let's take a photo and show everyone that I'm not on board with that, because I don't need a school to decide that my child should or shouldn't be endorsing a certain way of life. So I think we're now a society that's deeply troubled, where we're like, you need to put on a badge, you need to put on a sticker, you need to have the pronouns in your bio, you need to have the Ukrainian flag in your bio. It's all of this need for someone else to endorse what's going on. And I think the reason that people are getting concerned about kids is because you see these like drag shows that are, going on with kids. Now, I don't have any problems with a drag show for adults. You want to go do a drag show? Like, I've been to a drag show. In fact, in New York City, there's what's that place called? Lucky Chang's. Mm-hmm. People go, it's fun, whatever, ha ha ha, bachelorette parties, whatever. Mm-hmm. But when you have little kids now and you have drag story hour and you have these conversations happening among children, why do you need that to be happening at that level? Right. So this is a conversation for me that is about children and parental rights and the rights of you as a parent to decide how to have those conversations with your kid, and not sending what if you were a religious guy? I don't know if you are or not, but let's say you were Christian and you believed that homosexuality was a sin, that was your own belief, the manifestation of that, meaning sexual acts between, people of the same sex, whatever your belief is, and that child came out of that family and went to a school and now had to color the pride flag, and that made, why does that child have to endorse that behavior? Right. So that's where my concern lies. And I don't know if that's where Sneako's coming from. My concern is not like, oh, people are supposed to hate on gay people. I don't want that. I don't want to hate, but I also don't want this forced endorsement or you're the bad guy. Right. Do you see where I'm coming from with that?
I absolutely do. And I think that it's also interesting that it kind of shows our different perspective on that, because I think you see that as an endorsement. I see that as just acceptance. That's how kids learn. They color some pictures. They learn about what it means that some people are gay and that some people are different, and that's okay. It doesn't make them weird, and they have a little flag. I can understand, though, your concern with the actual endorsement of it. I can understand the concern there. when it comes to the drag show, the drag queen story hours or whatever, that's just like, it's almost, I'm not dismissing what you said. It's just like kind of in my mind a red herring. It's like, it's a problem, yes, and everybody is right to kind of shit on it, especially we've seen clips of them get pretty inappropriate and whatnot. But to me, that's kind of like a side thing, whereas if we're going to talk about this, we should kind of isolate that, where if you're drawing a picture of a gay flag, it doesn't necessarily mean that tomorrow we're going to the field trip to see the strip drag show. Or whatever.
It doesn't, but the way this happens in schools, so I don't know how much you know about me. I was a school teacher before I did this, before I got into television, which is 10 plus years ago. I taught middle school, high school, and college. I taught in the recent school. I taught in 3 schools. I taught in a college for a year. I taught in a Catholic school for a year. And then I taught for 6 or 7 years in a private school on the Upper East Side in New York City. Super liberal. I mean, to the point where it was like activism, out front and center every day. And what I saw was stuff like this get contextualized in a hyper-political way for very small children often. So I think when people see this, you may see it as like, oh, they're just coloring a flag. What's the big deal? But somebody else might look at this and say, well, who's contextualizing that conversation? What is the adult saying? Are they saying this is something we should all embrace? Are they saying this is a sign that you're not bigoted? Are they saying this is a sign that you're, loving someone else? And are they saying everyone has a right to live the life they want and you should welcome? All of that messaging is inappropriate for children of this age to be receiving from anyone other than their parents or their guardians. So that's where it comes into play, where it may look to one person as like, oh, who cares? They're coloring a flag. Who cares? What if it's BLM the next day? What if it's, frankly, what if it's a Republican message, a Democrat message, whatever? I want all of the politics out of the schools. I think
that's a bit of the problem is, now granted, sure, maybe you're not a fan of this, but it does seem that we generally agree that it's okay that kids learn. Like, say, hypothetically, there was a lesson like, today we're going to talk about different types of families. Some families, you have a mommy and a daddy. Some families actually have 2 daddies, 2 mommies. If it was something like that, I would assume you'd probably be okay with that. So
I actually don't know why that would need to happen in a school, though. I do think those conversations, by the way, should happen at home. But what class is that happens in?
Well, I don't know what class it would be, but I mean, gay people are...
How old are we talking about, kids?
I don't know, like 6. I'm fine with 6-year-olds learning that.
That's pretty small. It's a pretty young. And it depends what kind of institution you're in. Are you in? Obviously, if you're in a Christian school or something like that, that's not going to be happening. Is it a public school you're talking about, a government-funded school?
Well, the thing is that it's gay people just existing, not necessarily this specific tweet, but gay people existing and being taught that's not political. And people make it political, and it is a political issue in so much as like we should have our right to get married and whatnot. But when you compare that to drawing flags of Republicans or BLM stuff, those are overtly political movements.
So here's how it becomes political, though. It becomes political or it becomes activist if, rather than just saying, hey, the reality is there are different types of families that exist out there. Some look like this, some look like this. Neutral, right? That's a neutral. I just disseminate that information and you have no idea how I feel about the issue. You just know that I'm telling you facts. Is it said like that, or is it said from the perspective of someone saying, hey, it's perfectly okay, this is healthy, blah, blah, blah. Now, I may have no problem with that message. You may have no problem with that message, but somebody at home who's of religious identity may have a problem with that message because to them it's not healthy and it's not okay.
Yeah, so now that's where you get into some
I don't want any of that in schools. But I really want kids to go to school and learn to read, learn to write, learn to do their math, learn to do their spelling, especially at that age. I don't want to see any let that conversation happen. And if a kid raises their hand, this is the position I took. If a kid raises their hand and asks a question like that, you know what? Why don't you talk to your mom and dad about that? I'm going to give them a call later today. Maybe they need to have a discussion with you. Pick up the phone, call that mom and dad and say, hey, listen, your kid's asking questions. I don't feel like I'm the appropriate person to contextualize this. That's not what we're about here, but you need to. I think you should. That's where my position lies on that.
Well, I think that when you talk about kids maybe, or parents kind of have an issue with their children learning, like what we said, like different types of families or whatnot. I think that is actually the indoctrination that a lot of people don't think about, because indoctrination by definition is teaching somebody to, in this case, it would be accept or dislike something uncritically. So yes, if you're sitting children down and you're saying gay people are good, don't question it. If you do, you're a bigot. I'm against that, because that would be by definition a form of indoctrination. But when you have parents who are religious, who are usually dogmatic in that religion, where it's already not acceptable to question certain religious beliefs. And now they're saying that they want to deprive their child of learning certain realities of the world.
Well, I don't think that's what they're saying.
But it is. You're saying they would have a religious objection to it.
I'm saying they'd have a religious objection to someone contextualizing it as condoning that behavior. And I'm not going to tell them.
I don't think the kids should sit down with their
that's not
bigoted mom and dad.
But but it's not bigoted. If they're religious and they believe homosexuality is a sin, that's not bigoted.
Wait, yes, it is. That is.
Religion is bigoted? Religious people are bigoted?
Religious beliefs that homosexuality is a sin is absolutely bigoted.
So how, like, all Catholics are bigoted?
If you believe that homosexuality is a sin, that belief is bigoted.
So people who believe in the Bible, they're all bigoted? That's silly. I mean, listen, there are people who believe that a lot of the population is religious and holds. I personally don't.
And who's the least accepting of gay people? It's the white evangelicals. But U.S. Muslims, Muslims are more accepting of gay people in this country.
I personally don't have to agree with that. Like I just said, like, a bunch of gay friends, they live their life. I don't care. I was one of the people that said, you want to get married, get married. Like that's not my issue.
Well, then where do you draw the line?
Where I draw the line is that even though I'm personally of that view with my child, I don't believe that it's the responsibility, the job, or the appropriate place for a school to make that call and tell my kid what should be societally acceptable, what they should endorse, what is healthy, what is bigoted. Like that, no. Because there's too many people that there are religious people who just believe that by virtue of the Bible. Like, they're not hateful people.
You don't have to be hateful to be bigoted towards gay people.
But how's that bigoted to say that if they believe that homosexuality is a sin by virtue of the Bible and by virtue of their adherence to the Bible, why is it that it's not fair to call them bigoted just because they're adhering to those principles?
So let me, back in when the U.S. slave trade was still occurring, biblical verses were cited to justify slavery.
But you're not justifying. They're not talking about violence toward gay people.
I know. But what I'm saying is that people have, throughout history, used the Bible to justify certain views that they already hold. In the case of the slave trade, would it be bigoted if somebody said, it's my religious belief that black people are inferior to white people?
But that's not what they're saying. They're not saying would that be bigoted? No. Well, that's not the same. You can't correlate those two things, because these people aren't saying gay people are bad. They're not saying gay people are inferior. They're not saying gay people. They're saying the act of sex between two people of the same sex, to them, is a sin.
So would it be bigoted then to say that I think that
I'm not comfortable calling
interracial marriage is a sin? Would that maybe be?
That's not. The Bible doesn't say that. So listen, and I can't defend. You have the wrong person here if you're looking for me to be a defender of biblical text, because that's not my position.
I was raised Christian. Yeah.
But that's not my position. So I can't have that conversation with you. But all I'm saying to you is that these individuals who, every household has a different way of different beliefs, right?
And some of the beliefs but some of the beliefs are wrong. This is the thing.
So you want a child who comes from a Christian family, traditional values, traditional, man, woman. You want that child to leave their family and go spend 8 hours a day, and they should go to school and be told that their family is bigoted, and that's cool?
No, I never said that. I said, between you and me, that I think that it's bigoted to believe that being gay is a sin. It would not be acceptable to sit your kid down or sit a student down and be like, your mom and dad are bigoted.
So what is cool
hold on,
then?
But earlier when we were talking about sort of like the biological thing and everything, a lot of the times this is reality. You've said that multiple times. Reality does not care. Gay people are part of a reality. Gay people existing is part of a reality.
Yeah.
And bigotry against gay people, any kind of a complete disgust or disdain,
it's not disgust, though.
Or viewing it as sinful, because by definition you're saying that is a crime against God.
That's how religious people feel about homosexuality.
And that's wrong. That's incorrect.
Well, it's not up to you to judge that, though.
Wait.
It's not up to you to judge that.
How are they determining that it's wrong?
Listen, it's not up to you to define for them how they feel about behavior. It's not up to them to define for you. But
facts don't care. Wait, facts don't care about your feelings.
But it's not a fact. They're grounded in the Bible, in a religion, in
so
religious
why is it
dogma.
Bad then? Yeah. So then why is it bad?
I'm not here to decide whether it's bad or not.
Why do you think they think it's bad?
I disagree with that assessment. But I also don't want that child. I don't need that child who comes from that family to go into a school and be told that the way they're being raised, there's something wrong with it, or being shown an alternate reality
because they've been indoctrinated.
But that's not
the alternate
indoctrination.
reality is
Listen,
the facts of the world.
Hunter, let me tell you something. Every single kid that comes out of a family has received some level of indoctrination just by virtue. You come out of your house and you're exposed. Your kids are going to be exposed to your views. They're going to be exposed to your wife's views. There's going to be a set of values.
But I don't teach my kids that they can't question the views or that they must accept them
That's
uncritically.
fine. That's fine. And you don't know that how those households exist either. All I'm saying to you is that there are people out there who have children. They have a certain set of morals. They're religious. They send their kids to school. They know that gay people exist. Maybe they even have gay friends. Maybe they're just saying that they are religious. They don't need their kids to go to an institution of higher learning and receive messaging from a teacher who maybe was supposed to be doing ABCs that day and instead is giving a lesson on acceptance. Right. That's not what school is. If you like the short clip and want to watch another short clip, click here. Or if you want to watch the full episode, click right here.